Okay, guys, we are back to finish off the isometric view. By the way, I did add a couple of things here. That hidden line right there, I realized I left out showing the bottom edge of this slot here and that corner right there. So there's that. And of course the center lines that I had there and that dimension. So those were things that I added to the one I had posted on Canvas. Okay, before I draw the circles on this, just a little education on ISO circles in general. So the very first thing I'm going to do is just make a cube with holes in it, okay? So again, making that cube, you want to come down to our toolbar here on the bottom and click the little arrow next to snap settings right there. Click snap settings and get into isometric snap. So that's important right there. That is it. And hit OK. And you can see right here, this guy becomes visible, the isometric drafting icon there. And that allows you to switch between planes. I'll start off in the top plane. You also have to have the ortho snap on for this to work, the ortho mode, F8. So the two function keys you might toggle, definitely the F5, which allows you, and I'll do it right now, to switch between planes. You can see I'm doing that. Top, right, and left. And then F8, on and off, toggles ortho on and off. And when it's off, it's like you're just drawing normally, you know, without any ISO settings. So for the ISO to work, the ortho right there has got to be on, okay? Clicking it on. All right, so to draw my cube for demonstration purposes, I'm going to start off here, I guess on the left side. And I'll just pull down 1. How about 1 inch down? Enter. And then I'm going to pull over 1 inch, 1, enter, up 1 inch, 1, enter, and then back 1, enter. So you just pull in the direction you want to go and then type the value you want it to be. Change my plane here, F5. Now I'm in the top plane. 1, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter. In the bottom, change my plane to the right plane, 1, enter, and then up, 1, enter. So that is that. Pretty simple. All right. Now for the holes. So if you just went to regular circle, this is what's going to happen. Doesn't matter if you switch planes. You just do a regular circle. It's just a regular circle. Even if you're in the correct plane, and I am, that doesn't look right, does it? No, because an isometric circle doesn't look at all like a circle. It looks like an ellipse. So that is what we need to make. We need to make ellipses. So to do that, you are going to get in, you're first going to click on the ellipse tool, which you can see me doing right over here, just a standard center ellipse tool. But before you go and make an ellipse, just any old ellipse, you want to get into iso circle mode. So if you look down here at my, and I'll bring this front and center here, my command prompt, you can see there are options. Specify axis endpoint of ellipse, or, and you can choose this one, ISO circle. So if I type I and then enter, do that one more time. That's interesting. It's giving me a hard time here. I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that option. That is peculiar. Um, I think what is happening, there we go. Okay, so I see what was happening. If you click on ellipse, the ellipse function right here, and you choose center, that's interesting because regular AutoCAD doesn't work that way. You can see it's as though you're choosing the center option for you. See how it's got a little C right there? It's as though I've already typed in the C and selected that option instead of ISO circle. But if you just on regular ellipse choose the axis end and not the center one, so just this one right here, then you can see the options are available. And you can choose arc, center, or ISO circle. And ISO circle is the one we want. Okay, so just to make that super clear, when you choose the ellipse tool, make sure you're not picking the one that's got center, just axis end. And then you can either type the letter I, enter, or you can click on that. So I just typed the letter I, and now we got it. The other thing you can do is just type in EL for ellipse and then enter, okay, and then I enter. So if you just use the typing commands, EL enter, I enter, you'll have no problem. Okay, so now you want to choose the right plane. So right now I am in the right plane, and when I make a circle, there it is. It looks nice. And if I toggle my cursor to the left plane, and I go EL enter, I enter, I can now make an ellipse on that side. And I can do the same thing for the top view. Hit the F5 key, EL enter, I enter, and boom, there we go. So now I have the ellipses correctly made. And so they angled them. You can see it's as though, and if I grab this by the center, it'll be really obvious here. It's as though they are being automatically created on a 30-degree line, right? And that it's like an ellipse that's being made on a 30-degree line. And it does it automatically when you use ISO circle, which is pretty cool. So that's the deal. All right, we'll get rid of that. And we'll use that to do the holes right here. All right, so the holes are located a ½ inch up and down from the top and bottom. Okay, and 5/8 inch over. So if I get into my left side here and I go to line command, I'm going to click on any corner. Okay, and you know what? I'm going to change color so it stands out better. I'll do this in my phantom layer. Let me get rid of these guys because we don't need them anymore. But I'm going to do the same concept here. So I'm going to click on this point here and stretch downwards. I'm clicking on that corner. I'm just pulling down in this direction. And I'm going to type 0.5, enter, right? And then I'm going to pull over in this direction, and I'm going to type 0.625, 0.625, enter. So there it is. And that line, I'm not sure why that's not, I think it's just behind, is that a phantom? I think the object line is covering up that other one. Anyway, that is my the correct endpoint right there. That's where that hole goes. I can do the same thing on the bottom. Click on the bottom, pull upward, and type 0.5, enter, and then bring it over, same distance, 0.625, enter, and then hit escape. And so now I know the endpoints of those lines, right there and right there, that's the center of the circles. How big are those circles? They are 1/2 inch diameter, so a 1/4 inch radius. All right. So that is an important little piece of information. So I am going to make a little line segment that is 1/4 inch long. I'm going to do that on a different layer so it stands out. And I'm just going to click on the endpoint of this and pull it out in that direction, 0.25. Escape. So the beginning of that line is the center, and the end point of that line is the outside. Okay. So let's see how well that works. I'm going to type, for ellipse, I'm going to type EL, enter. And then I'm going to type I, enter for isocircle. I'm going to click on that center point, and then I'm going to pull out to the end of that little line segment I made. That's it. If I didn't have that little line segment, I would be clicking on this endpoint, but I wouldn't know what to click on to end. I guess I could just type the distance. No, that doesn't work. So it's nice to have something to click on, which is why I made that little radius. Okay, that is exactly why I did that. So that little line segment represents the radius. I'm going to click on the center, pulling out in this direction, 0.25, enter. And now I've got a place to start click and a place to end click. So again, isocircle, to make one of those, you type EL for ellipse, and then you choose the isocircle option, or I, enter, and then click on the center and click on the outside of the radius. There it is. Perfect. I do not need these lines anymore. What's next? Let's get this circle over here. So that circle is 1 1/8 up from the bottom, and it's right in the middle of this. So I could, to save time, just find the midpoint of this line, which is what I'm doing right there. Click on it and then just go up 1 1/8, which is 1.125. There you go. So that is the center point of that hole. And then same thing, I'm going to get in the right plane there, and I'm going to stretch out the radius of that hole, and that hole is 3/8, so its radius is 3/16. So I can type 3/16, enter, hit escape, and there you go. So I got a midpoint and a middle point, a center point, and an outside point. So that line is the radius. I will get into my ellipse command, EL, enter, and then I, enter, click on the center, and click on the edge. Boom. Hole located. There we go. So now we have some radiuses to make. The radiuses that go in these corners here and the other ones, are 1/8 of an inch radius, or a 1/4 of an inch ellipse. So, should be pretty simple here. I'm going to go over 1/8 and down 1/8, and that's going to get me to my center, right? So here we go. Clicking on this point here, we get the correct plane. I'm going to click on that corner. I'm going to pull down 1/8, 0.125, and then I'm going to go over 1/8, 0.125. Escape. So that, the endpoint of that line is my center. Ellipse. E-L, enter. I enter. Click on that point and then go out to it. There it is. Easy. Let me zoom in on that. No problem. So I'll just make all that object. Get rid of that guy. And now I can trim this stuff out. So trim, TR, enter. And I'll trim this side here. Trim this side here. There you go. This line will no longer be there. It's going to go away. I could do the exact same process over here, or I could just copy this. So it's pretty easy to just copy this from one side to the other. You do need a place to grab it from, and that, I think I'll just use the endpoint of this one. So watch this. I'll grab the endpoint of that arc and then just copy it from there to there. Check it out. C-O, enter. Copy it from that endpoint to that intersection there. Delete this, delete that. Trim that out. There it is. Nice corner. They put in the little shadow lines to help to facilitate understanding what this is. There is also a philosophy of putting in lines from, let me get into my object layer. Putting in lines from not deleting that one that I did, from endpoint to endpoint. So there are some people who would say that should be done. It's a tough call. I personally am not a fan of this, like that. Not a fan of that. I kind of like the way they did it in the drawing, or nothing. But if you wanted to do it the way they did in the drawing, you could just, let's zoom in on it. Just make several copies. So C-O, enter, copy one of these guys. And you could just eyeball it if you wanted, basically from there to there. What is that distance? I'm moving it at, got to turn my nearest snap on, sorry. All right. Something like that. And then copy it the same distance. So check it out. C-O, enter. And then I'm grabbing it from this one, but I'm moving it to that one. So now I can maintain my spacing so that it doesn't look off, although the last one's a little off. Or you could have actually measured it out if you really cared. What is that distance? That distance across is 15/16. So you could break it up into 3/16. There you go. And then, so that's 3/16 spacing because it's 15/6 wide. Look at that. Perfect. And then get rid of these guys or leave them there. Your call. That's how they did it in the drawing right there. I think I'm going to leave it like that. Bottom edge. Same concept. Let's take care of that one. I'll go to my phantom layer to do those lines so they stick out a little better. Again, getting on the correct side here, which is the left side, toggled my F5 key to that side. So clicking on this point, moving over 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. You know what? Let me go upward. I think I'm going to go upward. 0.125 up and then over 0.125. So there you go. You got your center point. Get back on my correct layer, the object layer. Ellipse, EL, enter. I for isocircle. Click on the center point. Click on the end point. There it is. Now I can delete this bit. Trim this out. Trim this out. There you go. Where is the line going to be? It's going to be from basically tangent to tangent. So we're doing exactly what we did before. I made this line go from this endpoint across to here so that I could get my spacing right when I copy these guys, and I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to use a 3/16, so CO, enter. Click on that guy, click on his point, and then move in this direction, and I'm just going to type 3/16. That's how far I want to copy over. And I could keep doing that same distance, or I could do it like this, CO, enter, grab this guy, and then use that base point, and then just keep clicking on the endpoints to do that. Perfect. Okay, got that. Then this line right here would go away, or you could just move it. And I'm just going to move it rather than redraw it. I'm going to move it from there to pretty much the, it was like the midpoint of that line, and that kind of hit it right on the money. Now I can delete this guy, trim this guy, and trim these off. Oops. Oh, they're not quite touching. Look at that. That one is. Perfect. Why wasn't that one touching? Let me zoom in on that. Just didn't quite make it. Huh. I think maybe this guy just got moved over a little too far. But, so I'll delete that one and then just copy this one again here. From its endpoint to that endpoint. And that should be perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right. Backside. So this one, there's nothing to it because nothing's visible except for just the edge itself. So let me zoom in a little tighter on that guy. We'll employ the same technique. Up 0.125 over 0.125. Get in the right layer. EL for ellipse, enter. I for isocircle, enter. Click on that, drag to the edge, boom. Delete that piece, trim away. Nice. All right. Looking good. Upper corner. It's going to be just like this, that lower right corner. Same technique. Okay. Zoom in on it. EL enter, I enter. Remove that guy. Trim away. Okay, and this line, I'm just going to move to the midpoint. I'm curious, I'm going to zoom in on that super tight and see if that midpoint's coming out right on the money. And it looks like it is. The midpoint is essentially tangent, so that's good. Okay then. So the same copying thing we talked about before. This side is actually 1/16 of an inch longer than this side, right? So this side is 1 perfect inch across. So rather than making it 3/16, because instead of it being 15/16, it's 16/16. To be even, I'm just going to make them 4/16 across, or spacing, or 1/4 of an inch. Put it that way. So CO, enter, and I'm going to copy that arc, enter, grab it by this point here, and then move it along this axis, and I'm going to type a distance away of 0.25. There it is. And then copy it again from this point here to that point there, to that point there, and lastly to that point there. I must have clicked a little early. I think I'm going to do what I did before and just trim these off first. And then copy the last one. Grab its endpoint, put that there. That way I know it's right on the money. It's not right on the money. Doesn't matter. I can move it to right on the money. There we go. Dude, it's being a booger. Again, don't get too crazy with these because it's just a rendering, you know? It's just a rendering, and doesn't have to be so perfect. Okay. How's that look? If you wanted to put more of these lines in, go for it. Their drawing has quite a few of them. Okay, we had one last little feature, and that was the radius on this back corner. that 1/16 inch radius. So we already have the 1/16 inch leg here. It's a full radius on this. So really, um, see what that would look like if we just went from there to there. I'm not sure. Elliptical enter, I enter. Right. So that's just clicking on that point and then going there. And then if you moved it from here to there, I think that would work. Let's see if that works. From its center to its edge. And then from that center to that edge, probably would have been faster just to draw it from scratch. But either way, there you go. There you go. So I did that kind of a funny way, I'll admit. If we were going to draw it the way we did the other ones, we would locate its center. And to locate its center, all you would do is click on here and pull down in the direction that its center is. And its center was a 1/16 of an inch away, 1/16. So there's its actual center. And then you could go to ellipse, EL enter, I enter, click on that center point, and then come out to the, oops, gosh, I don't know what I was thinking. And then you have to go up one. Sorry, do that one more time. It should have been from here, my mistake. It should have been from here and then pulling out 1/16 of an inch. There, so that's the center point. Going to your ellipse function, EL enter, I enter, clicking on that endpoint, and then just going to the edge here and trimming away. So there you go. Done. And the full product, there it is. You would want to tighten this up a bit. You will move that in, the whole thing, get that a little closer. The other thing you would probably do is scale it back, because this is the main drawing, you know, and this thing is huge. It's taken up almost as much space. So to scale this thing down, which we absolutely should do, scale is SC, enter, and you just pick all the stuff, right? Pick it all. And then click, say when you're done picking, you hit the enter button. And then you can click anywhere, just click on one corner, and you can drag and scale as you see fit. I'm going to type in a factor though. Rather than clicking to get my factor, I'm going to type in 0.5, enter. So that is exactly half the size. And if I zoom in like I might be looking at this drawing in general, you know, what do you think? Maybe move it a little closer. And my goal is to not be outside of the basic envelope of the drawing. So if I were to be putting a border around this drawing, you know, something like that, I wouldn't want to be outside of it. So you might leave it where it is or move it up a smidge, you know. But that is half size. So I scaled that by a factor of 0.5, and that works pretty well. You know, it could have been more. So if I I could increase it just the same way, SC enter, and again, just drag it out till it's the size you want, or type in a value. If I type in 1.3, it gives me that, and that's probably pushing it there. SC enter, maybe 1.2. That's looking pretty good.